time something would happen, like one thing after another, like every time there was some kind of struggle or turbulence, I couldn't overlook that anymore. I remember even saying to my friend at the time, I was like, I swear it feels like Nick wakes up in the morning, like literally wakes up, grabs his breakfast and sits down on his computer and thinks about ways that he can destroy me. Like that's his whole intention for his day. That's how dedicated he is. And I was actually still half joking at the time. But then it's still like, it just becomes more and more obvious. It's like every time there's a struggle in my life, you're associated to it somehow. Like I don't have struggles in my life anywhere else, but where it is that it's directly related to you in some capacity. You can't overlook that. Even as much as like somebody's trying to appear like they're not directly related to it, that they're not actually creating these scenarios in the background because they know that you're locked in a digital cage and they think it's funny to talk about it with their friends while all of them take part in stealing from you. It's gross. And this is how ignorant these people are. They think because they have political and law official connections, people on the Cleveland Police Department, people in hospital systems, people that are connected to banks, they think because they have that they're above the law. You're just literally writing your own ending. And even for like the school district and the Board of Education, and it just goes to show you how powerful these curses are when people join these secret societies or they start these cults or these covens. It goes to show you how strong the dark entity, the stronghold that is on them, because it really is like they're doing stuff that is completely illogical. And when you're grounded in God and you're so removed from the situation, like the subject of their hate and their violence, whoever all they are, they're too much of a coward to actually take accountability. Each and every one of them are. It wasn't even me. It was the hologram, the literal narrative that they all came up with and plotted with because of the fact that like the only power and control that they feel that they have is dark magic. But this is such a, and obviously we'd be better if it was coming from them. That's the goal. When anybody does anything, even if it's a mistake, they set themselves free of the shame of it. They empower themselves and set themselves free with the truth. But they also set other people free with the truth, right? Because then they set that intention to be an inspiration to other people who might be in shame because they did something that was nefarious towards someone they shouldn't have. But in this case, like a whole group of people were taking action that could jeopardize their reputations, their jobs, their homes, their well-being, their careers, their medical license, like things they actually worked for, in order to steal money from someone, in order to, they would probably call it bullying or harassment or stalking. This was terrorism because their intention was to do actual bad things to me or just to end me. That was their intention. So their actions, like this, by far meets the standard for domestic terrorism. And hopefully they already know that God is going to make an example out of them. Because when you choose not to take accountability, you don't then get the benefit of closing the cycle yourself. Like if I have to go this far to bring myself justice because these people are such cowards, despite knowing that I know the truth already and it's not affecting me, like I'm not gonna die. You can't take me out with black magic. I know I did. You would think after so long these people would get it, but they don't. You're not going to actually willingly take accountability, and you wanted to roast me. You wanted to sit back like true Satanists and get off on watching an innocent person, somebody who did nothing to any of you, somebody you were stealing from this entire time. You all sat back and watched and got off on the fact that you were causing suffering for another person that you didn't even know. And instead of taking accountability for that, which, by the way, taking accountability means that you learned your lesson. It means you learned your lesson. That's what taking accountability means, you learned your lesson. So it's clear you haven't learned your lesson. So since you wanted to enjoy that and you thought you were humiliating me in public, it doesn't make me feel bad at all that I'm exposing you in this way. And the public that I would in any way be aligned to or connected to are all going to be people that are interested in seeing the right thing be done here. They don't have a problem holding people accountable because they would also recognize how truly disgusting and evil it is what all of you are doing. I knew that by that point that there was a reason that God wanted me to be still at that time. God had done so many times before. This whole journey, and right from the start, literally right from the start of me being terminated from my job years before, up until when I was just like at a complete loss. Like I went to the police station multiple times, keenly aware that they are trying to harm me and my children. I'm keenly aware that I am in a digital cage. My whole phone is spoofed. I can't get assistance from the justice system, any variety of it. Whatever money I did have, I knew I was going to have to hang on to it in the event that this wasn't resolved before the end of my lease. And it had become very apparent to me, whether intentionally or unintentionally, that my utilities were being increased significantly and that there was some bills on there that just didn't make any sense. Research blacklisting a little bit. When you have people working for the justice system that are corrupt, they can block your IP address from their websites. So know how else they were intercepting my data. But if you don't understand how a man-in-the-middle attack works, you can search that on YouTube. Or, a sniper. I mean, there's so many ways. That's the other thing about YouTube and these social media sites. It's like, yeah, it's great. You can learn cybersecurity, you can learn hacking, but I mean, when we have an actual technological war happening right now, you have to ask yourself individually, every person, not just people that would be in the tech business or cybersecurity or hacking or gaming or anything like that, but every individual should be asking themselves, what role am I playing in our world right now, in humanity right now? It was probably, mid of the school year of 2024, a call from my son's dad. And he tells me that he had talked to people at the school and that there was an issue that William was in the office. My son had said something and then they called him down to the principal's office. And it was very strange because they didn't call me first. They called Nick, which, given that I'm the residential parent, I thought was very, very strange. And that they had talked to William yet again. This happened again. And this is in a different school district and it is neighboring, but still, I still thought it was strange. But basically, my son had asked another student if they were going to self-delete, how they would do it. This was very unusual for my son. My son is not even remotely a violent kid. Never has been. William is very gentle and he's very sweet. To my knowledge, he didn't even know what that meant. I had no idea that he knew that word that would describe self-deleting. And, he's just not your typical sort of violent kid. And when I say violent, I just mean what would be considered typical for 9 to 10-year-olds. A lot of boys in that age range are just, they're very physical, rough with each other and with video games and stuff like that, and the television shows that they watch. But William has just never been drawn to that big thing in our family with violence and guns, even like toy guns and stuff like that. That was just never something he was really drawn to. He does characters and in the shows and stuff, but that just was not something I thought it was extremely unusual. And so when I talked to William about it, they struggle with impulse control. And especially though, if you do have a very sweet heart, and I like to explain this in terms of William with me, because he gets to observe me. He also gets to observe how people will sometimes receive me, but also I've been very transparent with my children. So I'm watching me go through my healing period and understand that sometimes people will misunderstand the things that I say, and because of whatever their experience is, they might take it differently than I intend. And being vulnerable and connecting with him in that way, not to diminish his experience, but just to let him know that he's not alone in that experience. Like, his own mama has gone through the same thing, but then helping him to understand how to get through it, not putting so much weight on it that he stays in kind of a tailspin about it. You know, it's like, he's still a kid. He's still a kid. And given the fact that there hasn't been consistency in the exposure to where he would be learning that sort of thing from, like, my continued efforts to get Nick to put some moderation around what he listens to on his iPad and what games he plays and all of that. And Nick and his wife have been unwilling to sort of align with me on that, to co-parent in that way, because that is where he's learning that stuff from. When William started to share with me some of the things that he was hearing in Nick's house and the fighting that was happening in Nick's house, some of the things that he was hearing from Shelby's children and her older child, which I didn't know anything about her older child, and anything that William has ever said about his stepsisters has always been positive. He never said anything about their behavior or like any kind of issue in relation to his stepsisters. It seemed like he had a very good relationship with both of them, and you know, if there would be anything, it would be like your typical, like, how he feels about just being surrounded by girls all the time, you know. But even then, I try to, like, well, you know who could help you with that? And he would say, who? And I would say, your dad. Because his dad was the same situation. You know, his dad has all nieces and 2 sisters, and that's just giving him that encouragement in a non-direct way to also be able to identify with his dad and not sort of make him feel even isolated in that situation. But I even encouraged him in the times that he did feel, you know, that the girls get their way or he's getting picked on in the house all the time. I always took the side of the adults. Like, that's, even if I felt like Nick and Shelby, probably their perspective was off a little bit. And of course, he's my baby. So like, I don't want to think about the fact that I feel included in some things, but I also understand I'm not in their household, and I don't have 3 or 4 children, depending on, I don't know how much time her older son spends with them, but I'm not managing that. So it's not my perspective to be even speculate on. Unfortunately, Shelby and Nick don't feel the same. They actually feel like they're completely equipped to be able to talk about what goes on in my home with my children and make judgment calls about it, which is completely shocking to me, that 2 grown adults who are managing that much in their own home would somehow find the time to dedicate so much effort into what is going on in my home when there's nothing going on in my home. To find so much time to dedicate to your child's mother when I don't drink, I don't party, I don't have a man, I have no toxicity in my life. The friendships that were potentially exposing me and our son to negativity, to alcohol, to domestic situations that were inappropriate, or children that might not be receiving the accurate amount of attention to discipline ratio in their houses. Like, these were things that I had to sacrifice for my children and for my home to be the home that I wanted it to be. for me just to be focused on my health, my well-being, my ministry, my business, and the three or four very healthy friends I had in my life, for you and your wife to sit around and be plotting on me in the background, but to even be gossiping about me when I'm all the way in my lane, like, you're like newly married. Do you not have anything that you guys have in common? And then when William told me he went to, I think it was like a birthday party for one of Nick's friends' kids or something like that, and he overheard Nick and his friends like gossiping about me and like laughing, and William went into the bathroom with his iPad and was like crying. He called me because he was so upset. And it just is like, it's hard in that moment because I know that me have an emotional response to William in that moment, and even if I said to William what I wanted to say, like about his dad and his stepmom in that moment, it's not going to help William in that moment. Just remaining strong and letting William know that it doesn't hurt my feelings and that they're just really big fans of mine. Just to say, like, they're just, honestly, because if you weren't interested in something, if you weren't interested in another human being, if you weren't jealous or intimidated, when you have no reason other than whatever you have inside of you to be sitting around and trying to degrade another person that's not even there, that says more about the people doing that. Doesn't say anything about me. I'm not even there. And none of those people even know me, nor have they ever taken the time to get to know me. But it more importantly, though, it shows the emptiness within your relationship, your marriage, that you are going out of your way, especially during a time if there's like a birthday party or celebration, like you guys are sitting around hanging out. The only thing you can find to talk about is your child's mother that you've been separated from for almost a decade. And you're newly married. Okay. It's like, I don't even need to defend that, because whether they're saying it or not, their actual actions are demonstrating how they feel about themselves. And even in that, I don't take any enjoyment in that. Like, I don't take any pleasure in that. I want them to just like move along with their life. Like, it's absolutely insane to me that this is even happening to this degree, or that there are this many people that are so immature, so unintelligent, and really this ignorant, to the point actually where they would put themselves at risk of being a part of a crime, of like co-conspiring in an actual crime, like risking their family's well-being, risking their jobs. Some of these women are nurses, and if they get charged with a felony, you could lose your medical license. You could lose your job. It's like, why would anybody, let alone the curse that you're going to get because they were actually doing black magic or are still actually doing black magic? That just goes to show you how dangerous people are, but also people who are unhealed, because that's what it comes down to. It comes down to with being so deeply insecure and so unhealed within yourself, and trying to avoid that to such a degree that you go as far as risking everything that means anything to you, including people around you. And if you're doing, death magic, death spells on another human being, which is what Nick and Shelby have been doing, along with a whole bunch of other people, in order to keep money that's not theirs, that they're not keeping even. And when you know that I know, now they're even good. This is how ignorant. They know that I know. But instead of just taking accountability, instead of just retracting the lies that you told, instead of just returning what's mine, they are so ignorant, so cowardly, so selfish, and so audastic. These idiots want to continue to drive up the ante, like going and cutting the brakes or damaging the brakes on my vehicle again, so that they can continue. They'd rather see me continue and keep putting efforts in to put me into poverty instead of actually just telling the truth. because they want to continue to drag out time. Maybe they can make it to another moon cycle or something. I don't know. But I'm just done. I know that all I have to do is make this loud enough on a social platform where my collective, the actual good people, the army of God, would be more than happy to spread my message and expose these people for who they truly are. Because it's very obvious to all of humanity right now, anybody that's actually paying attention, that people perpetuating hate crimes because they're so insecure, because they're so programmed, because they're so mentally ill themselves, that they would do something like black magic and cursing other people, traumatizing children, because you want to keep your dirty little secrets hidden, because you want to keep your empty marriage hidden, because you're in a miserable relationship, because you've been stealing from people, because you're a fake witch that's been masking around as a Catholic, because you don't want people to know that the curse that's on them, all the things that have been falling apart in the lives of everybody around you, you don't want people to know that's because you've been doing death magic on an anointed person. Well, I guess you should have taken accountability. A danger to yourself and you're a danger to humanity. And it wasn't, my wishes, like, this isn't the way that I would have liked for the situation to end at all. At all. This is the actual last resort for me. This goes against everything that I believe in, to have to expose people in this way. This is just not the way that I would ever want things to be. Because I know that it's going to cast a larger light of judgment onto all of these people, because I'm speaking the truth and I have the facts. And they don't. They have no facts and no truth. And they have no proof to back anything that they're saying up, and I do. So, you understand also, like, I have been so abused and traumatized through this situation. It is difficult for me to even be in the energy of my son's dad right now. Like, I can't even be in his energy, like, whatsoever. Even now, I couldn't have a sit-down conversation with him right now, because that's how deeply traumatized I am over this experience. My actual physical body, my nervous system, is so dysregulated in his energy, and that really has just more to do with my protection. Diabolical, nefarious things happening all around you. When you're truly in touch with God, that's how it goes. People don't really understand that. When I'm grounded all the time, and I'm very in tune with my own energy, I'm very self-aware, and like, literally, I could get a breeze go the wrong way across my face, and I would know what's happening. I really would just like to be able to live a normal life. And the fact that there are grown adults that feel entitled to take away my sovereignty and my freedom and use my child to do it is sick and twisted. I literally just want these people to be dealt with in any way, shape, way, or form.